You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 119. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action today. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac. People are still saying Happy New Year, and I'm sure you've been hearing for a while now about how some people select a word of the year. A few years back, this was certainly something I did, and I remember that for 2020, my word was myself. I was going to put myself first and do more for myself. That's pretty hilarious considering 2020 was about everything except me. It was a year in which, as a mom, I focused on keeping my kids healthy and safe, more so than usual, becoming a teacher via distance learning for my son. You know what 2020 was like because you were there for it too. 2021 came along and I didn't even try to come up with a word. I don't think I even created goals for that year because honestly, it felt pointless. Here we are now in 2022, and although it looks a lot like the way 2020 started, I'm more hopeful this time around. I'm not necessarily selecting a word, but I'm choosing some words to focus on, and I want to share them with you. My focuses for this year are consistency, growth, and intention. These things apply to every aspect of my life, so I find them perfect. Yes, I would love to be more in shape and drop some more lbs, but I need to be consistent in how I go about doing that. I paved the way for myself with my weekly Zoom workouts with Lisa Harrington that I've done religiously for over a year and a half, but I need to be more consistent when it comes to what I eat and to ensuring that I'm moving more than just 2 or 3 times a week. To help me do this, I set a goal to do some sort of movement 5 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes. Now, I'm not setting the days or the type of movement, and I already feel like I'm accomplishing this goal as we head into the second week of the new year. Why? Well, because I started this before January 1st. I also looked at food options besides creating a full-blown dinner menu for every night of the week, every single week. Apparently, I've been living under a rock, and I just found all kinds of ideas on Pinterest for quick meals from Trader Joe's. So that's where you can find me shopping these days. Consistency is a way of life, and as humans, we thrive on it. I've talked about this before when it comes to structure for my kids and my stepkids when they were young. Sometimes, though, we can't be rigid in our days, especially when you work for yourself like I do. I already block days and times during the week that I don't take calls in order to have productive work time, but last month I also created specific times in which I take certain types of meetings, such as podcast interviews. It's much easier to manage it all this way. I'm a very routine type of person, so I love consistency, but I can always use more of it since I know it's what's going to ultimately propel me forward. Consistency doesn't only apply to how often we work out or how much sleep we get. I've been one who waits to add the extra hours in on the weekend when it comes to sleep, but that's not healthy either. So getting more sleep is another aspect I want to work on. I've been listening to my body more, and I know that sounds very woo-woo when I say it, but I mean, when my body says, please don't work out because you've pushed me to the limit, I'm listening. I'm taking a day of rest. When my body tells me at 4 p.m. that it's exhausted and could use a quick 20-minute power nap, I'm taking it. I don't care if it's a weekday or a weekend. I set my alarm and tell the kids I'm out for 20 minutes. And do you know what? Everyone goes quiet and respects that. We need to be more consistent with our naps, like we were when we were kids or when our kids were babies and toddlers. We need to allow ourselves to do what we need, like take a nap. There is no shame in napping. I want to also be more consistent in my relationships with others. I'd like to think that I'm good at this, but there are times where I get so involved in what I have to do that I'll forget to check in with someone else. I want to be more proactive about that. I want to make sure I get birthday cards sent in the mail, to send an extra email or text to a friend checking in, ensuring I do more quality one-on-one time with each of my children. I want to be consistent in all of it and not sporadic. This brings me to my next goal or focus, which is growth. I felt personally that last year I grew a lot in who I am as a human being. I got comfortable with my beliefs and in sharing them openly. I got comfortable with letting people know that they were wrong when the answer didn't have two choices, and I unfriended a lot of people with no regret. To me, this was massive growth. I want to continue that this year and to work on doing it on a larger scale. The biggest area I want to see growth is in my business. I've realized and recognized, with the help of others, that the only way I can do this and truly scale my business is to allow myself to rely on others and start delegating more. I've been a one-woman show for 3 years, and it's time to step further into my purpose, and as my friend Krista Grasso says, my zone of genius. By delegating more and outsourcing, I'm giving myself the gift of more time to do what I love. I realized this as I got off a call this morning with a new client, and I felt completely energized. I actually told my client that I was jazzed about what we were working on. And yeah, that dates me a bit. But in all honesty, I felt so elated and was basking in the moment because I genuinely love what I do and I want to do more of it. I want to grow in the number of voices I represent, the number of lives my clients and I get to touch and change. I want to create a greater impact, and that will mean I need to grow my business. Growing in business also translates to growing personally, and delegating things is certainly growth for me. Remember one time when I told you that my first word was myself? I'm still a believer that I can do anything and everything, but after 40 years, I'm finally figuring out that just because I can do it all doesn't mean that I should be doing it all. This is growth, people. Massive growth for me. All of this leads me to my third focus, which is intention. All too often, whether in business or life, we simply do things because they need to be done, or it seems like the next logical step. But what would happen if we take time to sit back and contemplate our next move? What would it be like to truly intend for something to happen or take shape? Whether we're talking about simply turning off our phones and being intentional with the task we are currently working on, or being fully present when someone else is talking or when we're playing with our kids. Being intentional is also being present. Going back to my conversation with my client this morning, we were both extremely intentional and present with one another. We set aside this hour to talk to each other. Neither of us looked at our phones or checked an email. We engaged in conversation, asked each other questions, listened to the stories and experiences of each other. We were intentional with our time and with being present in this moment. I want more of that. I'm honest with you, and this is probably TMI, but I take my phone everywhere with me, even to the bathroom. I then get mad at myself for having my phone basically attached to my hip. I long for the days of home phones when we couldn't bring them in the car with us or worry if it rang when we were in the bathroom. I actually remember the days when my mom would take the phone off the hook because she doesn't want to be interrupted. Do you remember those days? That's what unplugging was like back in the 80s and 90s. I want to get back to more of that. And in order to do so, I need to intentionally leave my phone in one place, check it less often, and not be so overly concerned about replying instantaneously. The sad part is that I've gotten better at this over the years. I don't have notifications popping up for emails. My phone is always on vibrate and even silenced at night. I don't check my emails first thing in the morning, but I still have a lot more to do to get into what I feel is a healthier place when it comes to that. To be intentional is to do something with purpose. I don't want to spend time with my kids on accident or because I can squeeze it in. I want to do it on purpose. I want to be intentional with my time, with who I hang out with the words I use, the work I do, and the food I eat. We talk so often about finding our purpose, but not enough time thinking about how we can do things with purpose and intention. I truly believe that if we take more action intentionally, then ultimately we will find what gives us purpose and meaning in life. This feels really deep, doesn't it? And honestly, that's where I want myself to go. I want to go deep. I've started on the path of intention and purpose and plan on discovering all that I truly have to offer the world and what kind of legacy I want to leave behind. Whether you decide to choose a word for the year, or make resolutions, or just have an idea of what you want 2022 to mean for you, know that you've got this. This might be a deja vu kind of year, or it could take us all by surprise and be absolutely epic. What if you simply decide to make it epic for yourself, no matter what else happens? Decide what you want and go for it. But be sure to leave room to be flexible for those forks in the road and the detour signs. Friend, you've got this. And if you need encouragement along the way, give me a shout. I'm cheering you on. Until next week, remember to be intentional and consistent in all you do, and don't be afraid of growth.